everyone, Jen here in my kitchen. Today we're making Vietnamese pork meatballs and we're gonna pair it up with some vermicelli rice noodles and a fresh slaw kind of salad that has fish sauce in it, which makes it just a little bit interesting. Okay, so we're gonna start on the salad, which means because we're gonna let it kind of marinate. We're using Napa cabbage. You're gonna get a big head of Napa cabbage, and this is a lot, so you could probably use a quarter of it. I'm gonna do just a small part of it just to show you how much to use, or just to give you an example of what you're gonna do. You can take off some of those softer leaves on the outside. What you would typically use Napa cabbage for is kimchi, and if you've ever had kimchi and you're interested, I highly recommend you use the other part. If you can, look up a recipe for making kimchi at home, which is like a fermented condiment, or like a fermented sort of like what is it? Almost like, I would call it Korean sauerkraut, basically, with just a little bit more jazzed up. So I cut the Napa cabbage in half. I'm probably only going to use about a quarter of it. You can see there's like a bit of a core here. You cut that out. This is a really nice cabbage that is almost like the texture of like romaine lettuce core, or like a crispy iceberg lettuce. And I'm just going to cut it down like this so you get some thin slices, and everything in our salad is going to be similarly shaped. But if you make too much salad, it'll keep and still be pretty good. The Napa cabbage will hold up fairly well with the dressing for a few days in the fridge. And then I've got a quarter of a cucumber here, and I'm just going to cut it also into thin strips. So you can cut long slices like this, and then I stack up those wider pieces, and then just cut it into thinner strips like this. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my carrot. You can try and get it from rolling around on you. Just cut one edge off and then put it down on that flat side. And then do the same thing. Make some thin, long strips like this. Get your fingers out of the way. If you don't feel like cutting them like this, you can also just shred them with a grater. Just fine too. Just won't have the same crunch to it. And these are a little bit long, so I'll probably just cut them in half. And then the other thing we're going to put in there is green onions. So I cut off the dry ends that you don't want, and the very ends of them. And then you can cut long lengths of the greens. Save this part because we're going to put that into our meatballs. And then if you can cut very thin little slices of your green onion, just kind of keeping everything sort of similarly shaped. So that's basically our salad. You could put in some red pepper if you like for a little extra color, but that's our salad so far. And we're going to make the dressing. Okay, so for our dressing, we're going to do about half a tablespoon, maybe a teaspoon of sugar. This is to your taste, so whatever you feel like just a little bit of salt, because there's salt in our fish sauce. We're going to do the juice of a lemon, tablespoon of rice vinegar. And a tablespoon of fish sauce. Give that a really good stir to dissolve the salt and sugar. And then give it a taste. And if you like more fish sauce, add a little bit more. Or if you think you need it to be less intense, you can add a little bit of water to it. Okay, and then pour that over your vegetables. And then we're going to put in some fresh cilantro. You can chop it up or just put it in whole. I'm going to put it in whole. And some, what do we have? Some, oh, on here it says licorice mint. And on the box it says Korean mint. That's definitely licorice mint. I do have regular mint too. And so put in your cilantro, and then if you have basil, it's also really good, or some mint. I have this licorice mint, so I'm going to put that in. Just a few sprigs. You can tear it up, and then it smells really good. And then let's see. Give this a toss. Let the vegetables kind of marinate while you're doing the rest of your prep. Okay, so now we're going to get our rice noodles cooked. And this is the vermicelli. Don't read the instructions on the back, which tells you to boil in a pot of water. What I'm going to show you, they don't really need to cook a whole lot. You just boil some water. And I'm not cooking the whole package because this will probably be enough for 6 people. We're just 2 of us tonight, so I'm going to try and split and do half the package. Actually, you can do a little less, but yeah, once you open it up, it is messy. But probably, yeah, half would be nice for 2. And then the other part you put into a Ziploc bag or something. And then the boiling water you just pour over. You can put this in a pot or put it in a bowl. And just pour over some hot water. And then let it sit until the noodles are softened. And it probably will only take a couple of minutes, maybe 1. And then you'll strain out the noodles or just pull them out with some tongs like I would do. So I'm going to set this aside while we get our meatballs going. And I've got some ground pork here. A lot of the ingredients in the pork meatballs are the same as the dressing. We're going to do some more sugar, probably another like half a tablespoon. And some more fish sauce. We'll do 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. Pinch of salt. And then the whites of our green onions and a clove of garlic is going to get minced up. You want to chop up your garlic and onions fairly fine if you can, just because you don't cook these meatballs for too long. and they're not going to be simmering away in a sauce or anything, so you don't want to get a big chunk of garlic. That's going to be, you know, not fully cooked, so you want to cut it up fairly small. Then I'm going to take just a few leaves of cilantro. Okay, we'll see how our noodles are doing. Let's see. So those look good to me. You might want to test them just to make sure, but they're very thin noodles and they're cooked. They don't really take much at all. So you can take these out with the tongs or strain them into another bowl. Okay, now it's time to get dirty. Get your hands in there, get the pork and all the ingredients mixed up really well. You're going to have to get your hands dirty anyways because you're going to be forming these into little balls. If you have the time, let this sit and marinate or like get all the flavors kind of combined for, you know, half an hour while you're maybe prepping your vegetables if you have extra time, or while you're waiting for your vegetables to sit and marinate, you can let the meat sit for, you know, 20 minutes or something like that, just to let the flavors mix together really nicely. But it's not totally necessary. These will taste really good no matter what. Okay, so now we're going to form these into meatballs, and you want them to be about the same size so that they cook evenly and at the same time. About the size of a golf ball if you can, and then you know you've got at least a few for each person in your family. This is a pound of pork, and you know it's typically going to feed 4, depending on how big your family members are or how big eaters they are, but this would typically feed my family of 5 with a little one. So I try and do at least 3 meatballs each. And they don't have to be perfect, of course. I just like to roll them around, pretend you're playing with Play-Doh again. And I'm setting them onto a plate for later because we're going to put them all in the pan all at once. Before you go washing your hands, give them just like a little squash so they're flattened meatballs. And then they won't take as long to cook through the center, and they'll get really nice and caramelized. Really nice and caramelized on the outside. And then wash your hands. You want to get your pan nice and hot. Get some oil in there that you cook with. And then we're going to get our meatballs in there. Space them out as much as you can. And then you'll have room to flip them over. That's what you want. And this is at medium, between medium and medium-high heat. Okay, so the pan is on medium-high heat. You want to make sure it's nice and hot before you put your meatballs in there, your little meat patties. And then just let them rest. Let them sit there and cook and caramelize on the bottom. Check in about 3 minutes, but you want them to be nice and golden on the bottom. So it'll probably be more like 4 or 5 minutes. Just not too hot, but you want them to be sizzling away. Okay, our meatballs are nice and golden on both sides. And just give them a little press, like the one that you might think is the biggest and maybe like wondering whether it's cooked or not. Just give it a little squeeze, and if you see like any juices coming out, they should be clear. They shouldn't have a whole lot of give to them. Like if they bounce back, then you know that they're cooked through. So I'm going to turn off my stove. And then I'll show you. Got our noodles in the bowl. And we're going to top it with some of our lovely Napa cabbage salad. Be generous with this. And the dressing, if there's anything left at the bottom of the bowl, you can pour it over the top so it marinates the noodles a little bit too. Whoop. Just pour over a little bit of that. And then top it with a few meatballs. You can put them on the side. And then if you have some extra cilantro and you like cilantro, put it on top. And there you have it. That's your dinner. I hope you enjoy. We'll see you soon.